Hi, my name is Oliver Lewis, and I would just like to give a quick testimonial for the Alan Carr Easyway method for stopping addiction. I first used the method back in 2001, which is quite a few years ago now, about 16 years ago. So I'm coming to this a bit late. Apologies for that. The method was first showed to me by a friend who recommended I read the Easyway Guide to Stop Smoking. So I brought the book. I'd been a smoker for about 14 years at that point. I started smoking when I was 13 years old on an ad hoc sort of basis, and then started smoking every day from the age of about 15. Like most people, once I got to my 20s, I realised that I actually didn't want to smoke anymore. But also discovered that unfortunately I was unable to stop. So I tried a lot of different approaches and techniques to try and stop throughout my 20s. They didn't have vapes back in those days, but I used the patches, nicotine chewing gum. I used to use the small sort of nicotine pills they used to sell. I'm not sure if they sell those anymore. I think I tried hypnotherapy at one point. And of course the willpower method, which never worked. So I was a bit skeptical when I purchased the Alan Carr book, but I read it and it was actually quite a revelation for me. I sort of realised that this was potentially an approach that could genuinely stop me smoking. So I read the book in its entirety and I managed to stop for 1 week. So basically I finished reading it one weekend, and then the following weekend I went to meet some friends for a drink, and they were all smokers, and unfortunately I fell off the smoking wagon, unfortunately. And I was quite disappointed about that, but I still felt quite positive because I felt that the method could work. So a couple of weeks after that, I attended one of the actual clinics. It was the one in Rains Park. I used to live in South London at the time, and it was quite an interesting experience. There was about 20 of us there, I think, and we were in a big room full of. We were all sat on kind of recliner easy chairs, because at the end of the session they give you a little bit of hypnotherapy, and so we would recline back in our recliners to receive our group hypnotherapy session. There was one therapist there, a guy called Crispin Hay, who was really good, and he was sat at the end of the room, and on one side he had this huge pile of cigarette packets, probably about waist high, and on the other side of him he had a similar pile of lighters about waist high. And essentially what happens is at the end of the session you kind of throw your cigarettes on the cigarette pile and your lighter on the other pile, as a kind of symbolic gesture for you finally stopping smoking. So anyway, we did the session for about 5 hours. It was quite surreal at the end, because you walk out of there not really feeling that different, but just you're not a smoker anymore. It's just been kind of removed. And I went, as soon as it finished, I got a train to Wimbledon and met a friend there for a few drinks. And then I went home and had a few drinks with the people in my house as well, and I didn't drink. I just didn't smoke. The desire was gone. And that was back in 2001. Like I said, that was about 16 years ago now, and I haven't touched a cigarette since, which is fantastic. And I've been around smokers. My wife was a smoker until a couple of years ago. On a couple of occasions, I can remember actually holding cigarettes as well. So I've been with smokers and someone's had to pick up a phone call or something and they've handed my cigarette to hold it for a second. So I've had them in my hand, but still didn't feel any need, any withdrawal pangs or need to smoke, which was fantastic. So, as I mentioned earlier, it was quite a revelation to me, and it was quite a catalyst doing this as well. And a couple of years after that, I also decided to do the alcohol method. I'd always been quite a heavy drinker. I've got a lot of heavy drinkers in my family, on my father's side of the family. My father was a very heavy drinker, and in fact he died a few years ago in his 60s of liver failure as a result of his drinking. So it was always something I was a bit sort of aware of, that perhaps I'd have to, do something about it eventually. So I thought, with the success with the smoking, I'd give the drinking a try. I found that it was even easier than the smoking to stop using that method. And it's one of those things, it's like smoking, it's hard to sort of ration yourself and cut down, but actually stopping's easy once you know how to do it. So that was around 2005, 2006. So basically I've not been smoking for 16 years, and I stopped drinking about 12 years ago. Not had any sort of need or desire to do either since, which is really good. The system they use is quite ingenious. They don't focus on the negative aspects of your addiction. So, for instance, with smoking, they don't talk about the cancer risks and the money it costs you and bad breath and all that sort of stuff. They tend to focus on the perceived benefits, the reasons why you smoke, what you get out of it. So you might feel that it's like a crutch for you, or you find it pleasurable, or helps you concentrate, or you can't have a drink without a cigarette, all those sort of things. And they kind of go through all of that and sort of deconstruct the myths or the ideas that you have, and basically remove your desire to smoke. So by the end of it, it's actually quite easy to stop. With nicotine, I think nicotine is supposed to be one of the most addictive substances available, I think even more than heroin, apparently. But the actual physical pangs are quite mild. They're quite easy to deal with if you remove the psychological element. So, and they sort of show you how to do that as well. So that's how it just ends up. They remove that desire, and it's actually quite easy to stop, which was a real eye-opener. So yeah, it's been really successful for me, and I would recommend it to anybody who wishes to stop smoking or drinking, or I think they do other addictions as well, like gambling and sugar and things like that as well. So yeah, I'd thoroughly recommend it.